Before this video starts, I would just like to say that this will be a very, very, very long video. Probably going to be an hour long, who knows. Anyway, of course, I will put some timestamps at the description of this video so you guys can, of course, skip around. And yeah, so there are going to be some really awesome customs in here. This is basically a catch-up LaZY video, so I'm not making separate videos on all these customs. I'm basically just going to fit it in 1 hour long video. So it's basically just a custom showcase I've been working on of all my MaRCh and at the very end of February customs. So yeah, without further ado, sit back and relax and let's start the video. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have a brand new video. Now this is going to be, I think, one of my first LaZY videos, and this is a LaZY video because, of course, over the past couple weeks I've made insanely great customs and stuff like that, so this is basically going to be a catch-up video. So yeah, of course, if you guys are waiting for all the set reviews for the all the sets that I got for my birthday, those set reviews will be coming out soon, and I do have some sad news in this video, which I will go over right now. So some of the sad news is I will not be doing a live stream video with the Quinjet and the Sanctum Sanctorum. I've already built them. They've been on display for about a week now. I've already recorded the videos. I'm just going to edit and send them out. So yeah, those videos will be coming out soon, and I am very excited for those videos to come out. And of course, I am also having a couple hauls coming soon, so stay tuned for those. So yeah, of course, today when I'm actually filming this is April the 1st. No, this is not an April Fool's video. I did do an April Fool's video on my channel, which was pretty good. I did fool a lot of people, but I'm not going to do one this year. I don't really think of one that I want to do this year. So of course, this is just a normal video that's going to come out on April 1st. So yeah, anyway, of course, starting off with the customs, we have my updated Sig Fig. Now, I actually decided to update my Sig Fig because I really love my Sig Fig that I had, and it's probably one of the best because I actually do have this shirt in real life. So I did want to capitalize on this being a shirt, and I added the neck rim at the top and the back. And of course, I also did paint my spider on the back, which is supposed to be this spider right here, but just on the back in white. But I don't think that it actually turned out that good, but I actually really like it a lot of how sloppy it is. And I do like the design, so I went for it. Also, I painted myself a watch because I always wear a watch. I did paint my shorts, which I do actually have these shorts in real life, which is pretty cool. And then I painted myself black shoes, which I think are pretty cool. And then I did give my scythe as a weapon because I actually do have this also in real life. So yeah, anyway, that is it for my custom Sig Fig. So we're going to be moving on to the Ant-Man video. Now, I know I did say I was going to do a separate Ant-Man video. I'm not actually going to do it. This is going to be the video right now. So without further ado, here we go. So first off, we have my custom Ant-Man. And this isn't really a custom Ant-Man. This is just the Ant-Man figure that has come in all of these sets. All of the Ant-Man and Wasp set that I got. And I did add the Bucky Barnes head underneath. And I'm probably not going to give him this hairpiece for long because I am probably going to want to use this on a custom. But I did get this hairpiece from the Robert Pattinson Batman figure, which you will see soon the set review for. I got it from the set, which is pretty cool. I think it works really well for him. I might go for a different hairpiece in the future, but yeah, there it is. And I did also give him the accurate helmet. I do also have the other helmet. If you want to see what that looks like on him, here you go. It's fine. I think it works for the concept art that they were basing it off of, but for the helmet, I think that this works really well. So there he is. He's pretty cool. Alright, so next custom I do have is actually probably the most interesting one. This is actually my custom Wasp figure. So before I show off the new helmet that I made for her, here is the Wasp figure. I used some Aisha legs, and then I also gave her the Bumblebee wings. I also did give her Tina Goldstein's head, which does have a smile on the other side, which I think works pretty well. And then I did give her this hairpiece for a hairpiece that you can give to her when she has her helmet off. So for her helmet, I did decide to use the helmet in the set, but I did add my modifications, which I think make it look better than it was in the sets. So here is the brand new helmet. I really do love how it turned out, and to put it on the figure, here you go. I really think that this works much better than what Lego did originally without the antennas and stuff. I still think that there are some flaws with it. Using this helmet was pretty hard to do because, of course, the helmet itself is not a good size. And when I did the set review, I was like, this really works well because it doesn't have the stuff. And yes, it does, but there's also some other issues that come to using this helmet. One of the issues was that I had to give this little top thing that she has to basically kind of even out the awkwardness of the helmet. I still think it works really well, and I'm going to go with this helmet because it has the antennas, it looks like Wasp, and I think it looks really well. So there is my updated Wasp and Ant-Man. Here are some other Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania figures. I mostly made a lot of KANG's variants. So yeah, so first up, some of these figures you have seen before or haven't seen, I don't really know. And but yeah, here is He Who Remains. Yeah, here he is. I don't think that this is the best cape for him because it keeps going up, but I think it's pretty good for He Who Remains. He does have his little time watch thing or whatever that he has in the show. It's on... Anyway, I really do love this little accessory that I gave him. It's pretty cool. Anyway, he does have the just a normal torso, the torso from Harry Potter. The head is just the normal head that comes on all of the... I just dropped the figure. All of on the Eternals figures. I don't remember. This is why I don't like these capes, man, because these capes just get in the way of a lot of stuff. So just please stay down. Anyway, there we go. It's pretty cool. Anyway, just normal dark green. He has the green apple, which is pretty cool, and then just the Gandalf. I mean, whatever legs. They come from an advent calendar. I don't remember. Yeah, another LaZY figure. But actually, I did forget that I made her, and I have her in my collection. Here is a custom stature that I made, and this is very simple. They have the Huntress legs, the torso from that everybody's been using from Shuri. The head is from Hermione Granger, and then I also have the scared expression on the back, a brown ponytail, and some black arms with black hands. So there she is. She's pretty cool. Anyway, the next figure that I have here is another one of KANG's variants we have is Victor Timely from the end credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I just used the Harry Potter black suit that he has in the winter ball sets. Reddish brown hands, and then the head. I don't have a head with glasses, so I just went with this head, and I think it's pretty cool. It works really well for him, and I do love how he looks with it. So yeah, anyway, there he is, and he does also have the Morbius hair because I think it works really well for him as well. Anyway, the next Ant-Man and the Wasp custom that we have here is, of course, the Silver Centurion. I think from the end credit scene, I don't really remember, but I think he's pretty cool. We have the... Anyway, I think this works really well for him. He has the legs from Lex Luthor, purple torso, silver hips. I don't know where they came from. Anyway, black arms, black hands, and then the head is from a custom... the head is from the Harry Potter, and then the silver neck bracket. I just decided to turn it upwards, and then I also did paint his little thing at the top of his head. So there he is. Really cool. I like him a lot. He's pretty cool. Anyway, next up we have is Rama Tut, and he turned out pretty cool as well. He was a very simple custom to make. Of course, the big thing that you guys are probably noticing is his incredible headdress thing. I think the paint is pretty sloppy, but I really don't care. These are kind of semi-customs. These are like mostly some painted stuff on them, so you know who they are. Anyway, the torso and legs are from Thanos. The Thanos minifigure, I forget. It's from the Thanos figure, I think, right? And then the arms are the, since he's a little bit robotic, the arms are from Cyborg. Black hands, and then the head is a knockoff head, which I did paint his little scars. Yeah, of course he has his yellow markings on his face, which I think look pretty cool. Anyway, those were really nice painted. Anyway, his headdress thing is probably the part that you guys are most interested in. His headdress is actually the Lego Batman movie, I think Series 1. I think it was, I forget who he was, but yeah, I painted that gold and then with the black. They do have this in Legos, the gold and the black, but I don't own it. And then I gave him a gold spear because I think he has that at the end credit scene. Don't know, but anyway, he's pretty cool. Like him a lot. Anyway, next up is probably the weakest of the customs that I made because it was really hard because I don't have one specific figure that I think would work really well for him. And that is actually, the custom that it is actually Immortus. Immortus was very, very, very difficult to make. I had a lot of trouble with him. And yes, I would go with the pink Gandalf, this figure right here, the pink Gandalf figure. I would go for that, but I don't have that in my collection, so I just decided to go with a random pink torso from the Queer Eye set. I think it works all right. Then gold legs, gold hands, then the head is Thanos's, but I painted it blue kind of to match this headdress thing that I sculpted for him. This head, this thing cannot come off. It is completely sculpted in with this head, so this helmet thing cannot come off. And then I did give him a cut up pink cape and then a pink cape right here. I think these work all right for him. So there you go. That is how you make Immortus. And those are the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania figures. However, there is a custom, but so I don't have all this background kind of stuff distracting the camera. I'm actually going to get rid of all these figures. So here are all the normal Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania figures. I think I did show him off in a video, but I did make a sculpted Veb custom. If I didn't, then here you go. Here's Veb. He's pretty cool. I wanted to make the robot dude who shows up in the movie, but I didn't have the time to. It's just this figure is honestly probably one of the most interesting that I made because he uses one of the new techniques that I did with combining silver with pink paint to give him the slimy effect that he has. And I did also kind of do a wash on the dome piece as well to get that effect as well. But he just uses just a normal gray thing down here. Put the minifigure head on top with the sculpted eyes, then with the sculpted feet as well. He's pretty cool and I do like him. And those are the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania figures. Once again, we're going to take a look at KANG. So yeah, let's get rid of all these figures and take a look at KANG himself because he's probably the coolest out of the figures that I made because he was one of the first customs that I made that was honestly really cool. So without further ado, here is the Ant-Man and the Wasp version of KANG. Here he is. He is very cool and I'm very happy of how he turned out. And I did actually make a lot of modifications on him because I did actually make a video on him that didn't come out. It was planned to. And a lot of this stuff was not on here. Then I decided to basically redo a lot of this stuff. And I do actually have the original version of the original KANG, which is actually right here. Here is the original one. Very similar to this. There's just, this figure is kind of incredibly hard to take apart. And this figure is basically a glued minifigure, not allowed to take a lot of stuff off. I mean, you are, but it's going to be very hard to do it. So anyway, yeah, so starting off with the head was not my idea. I actually took the Invincible Iron Man helmets and then decided to sand the middle of the helmet off, so completely off. And this was actually an idea from Kincaid Creations. He actually sanded off the front of an Iron Man helmet and then put a visor on top of this, which looked really awesome. The face is the standard Loki head that I've been using. I did repaint the scars on here as before. In this head, actually, I did sculpt the helmet. So I actually, originally, when I made this KANG figure, I sanded off the top of the stud on the top of his head and then basically put some sculpting inside this helmet and made it so this cannot come off. So this head and helmet piece is one full piece. And I'm very happy that that is the case because, of course, if you put paint on a figure and you have a helmet on top and you're going to keep removing that helmet, the face is going to eventually scratch off. And that's been happening with a lot of my customs when I've been basically making the figures, which you guys will see a lot of them later in this video, basically where these helmets and heads do not come off. They are basically one piece. So yeah, there it is, and it's really cool, and I do love how it turned out. I did add the paint on the side. And this is a better helmet than I used. The original one was the Iron Man helmets, and yeah, so the shoulder piece is really cool. You probably can see it and be like, wow, how did you make this? And this is actually two pieces that I took together. So the first piece was actually one of the gold pieces. It's this piece right here. And I basically sanded off the sides of the armor piece, the pieces that would go over his shoulders, for a custom figure. I don't know who it was, but the gold piece was laying around in my collection. Then I took this piece right here, the basically shoulder piece, and it was basically this piece right here that came on Razor or Taser. I don't know who it was. And then basically sanded off the gold in the middle and then slid it over this piece and basically turned this one upside down and then slid it over, and then that's how I made it. And you can actually still see some of the gold underneath. So these are actually two pieces together. Then after I took that, I sculpted on the chest piece and then painted that on top and on the back as well. So this whole thing cannot come off. So if I take this off, this whole piece is just one connection. And that also means that the capes are not allowed to come off. So these capes are actually from Mr. Terrific. So then I painted them green. Then I painted the purple detailing on this. On the back, you don't have any purple detailing. But then I did that. The torso underneath is actually the Lex Luthor torso. And then just painted that, once again, the green, and kind of got rid of a lot of stuff that was the detailing on there. And then also painted the green arms. And actually, these handcuff pieces are probably the most interesting part, because a long time ago when I was making the Mandalorian figures, I was actually basically cutting, 3D printing a bunch of handcuff pieces and cutting them off and then basically putting them on top of there. So these are actually handcuff pieces I didn't use. So these are basically hard plastic. They're not the rubber type. And I'm not going to take them off because they have kind of chipped off a little bit. But I have painted the blue on there for his blasts, which I think look really cool. So I did that. And then the best part is actually his cape down here. So yeah, I painted those 3D printed handcuff pieces. Then I made his belt. And then down here, I have his cloth piece, which is basically Marvin the Martian's waist cape. And then I put a green cape on top of that as well. And then the final thing is I took Green Goblin's legs and then basically just painted green around the little knee pads that he had on here. And that is how I made Kang the Conqueror. If that was very complicated to hear and you probably got lost somewhere in there, that's how complicated this figure was to make. So this was honestly two versions. This is my final version. And I've been wanting to make Kang for a while, so I was very happy to hear that he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So there he is, and now we're going to move on to the next custom. So these are the MaRCh customs that we're in now. So anyway, the next customs we have, these are basically going to be flyby really fast because I did actually make videos on these dudes already. We have Howard the Duck and Beta Ray Bill. These are just flyby customs. These made separate videos on these guys, going over them. They're really cool and I love them a lot. But once again, these are the MaRCh customs. So these are the figures that I worked on in MaRCh. And if you want in-depth detail, once again, just go check out their separate videos. They're actually ones that I made separate videos on. So yeah, anyway, next up we have is a new TV show that I was watching. It came out last October. I think it came out like last October. It was pretty cool. This is actually Hitmonkey. And this is a really cool custom that I made, once again, in my free time. He's very cool. He has a lot of very interesting parts. And I did actually, once again, make a separate video on him, but didn't have the time to produce it and get it out there. So he's in this video. So yeah, cool. Anyway, he has, for his accessories, I gave him his gun, which is pretty cool. And since the TV show is very kind of bad and kind of, it's basically TVMA, I did also decide to smear some red paint on top of the sword because he does cut some people. So yeah, anyway, Hitmonkey I actually did make some modifications to. When that video came out, he was literally just a plank. The whole arms and legs were all just black. So here's the original version. Not really anything has changed with the head or torso. I just decided to paint his fur on here, which that was completely different from the original. So starting off with the torso is just a normal suit torso that I got from James Potter. from the Harry Potter Series 2 collection. Then I took some black arms, painted the white on there, as well as took some kind of, I think, light flesh hands. I don't know what they are, but they're not flesh hands. They're a bit lighter than it. And then also did do some paint white weathering on top of the hands as well. So I give him that white fur that was on his hands. And then his legs, I did the same thing, just painted the boot, painted the feet, and of course it's not painted at the bottom because studs. Anyway, then I also did do the white kind of wash on it as well to give him that fur. And probably the most interesting part that you guys are talking about right now is his head. Now his head is actually a sculpted headpiece, and originally this was a fully sculpted head. I don't know if I have photos of it, but if I do, I'll put a photo up here. But I originally decided to sculpt the figure just with a minifigure head again, and then just sculpt on top of it to make the head. But I couldn't do that, so what I decided to do is actually take one of the Gorilla Chima heads and then basically put that on top, sculpt the detailing, and I actually did take a picture of what he looked like without the paint on, and here he is. And I just took the gorilla headpiece, one of the gorilla, I think it was the black gorilla headpiece, I don't remember, and then just made the eyebrows, sculpted the inside of the eyes so his eyes, it wouldn't be like a helmet because, you know, their eyes stick out. So yeah, and then I just painted the white on it, and painted the glasses, and then did all the detail that you see here. Once again, a really awesome custom, and I wanted to make him because I just saw the TV show and I really loved it. I binged watched it, I think in like 2 days, I think I binge watched it. And it was pretty cool. I am excited to see a season 2 if they make it, but if not, it was a good ending off. However, I do want to see Lady Bullseye, which is a character I did want to make from the show, but I didn't have time to. So there he is. He's a very awesome custom, and I'm very happy that I made him. So once again, another MaRCh custom. Next up, we're going to go into the Disney Plus type stuff. I actually did decide to remake an older custom, which this looks really hard, but was very fun to make. I did make Werewolf by Night from the TV show, which I am very happy on how he turned out. He turned out incredible. And this is honestly, once again, another figure that can go by the Joker as being one of my original painted faces. So when I was first starting off with this guy, I actually decided to paint his face first because I wanted to see, would this work out? And if I sculpted this amazing thing and the face didn't work out, I would scrap the whole thing, which as you guys can see, it looks really awesome. But I would have to give, some credit because all of this was not my own idea. It's actually this dude's idea right here. And I basically took a lot of inspiration from his. As you guys can see, it literally looks identical. The only thing that I decided to add was the sculpting on the torso and the legs. This is a really cool custom, but once again, all the credit has to go to that guy for coming up with the idea. And I really do love how this figure looks. It looks awesome. The helmet, this piece was actually the beard piece that they used for the pirate figures. And I sanded off the metal and then just put the head underneath this. Once again, this head cannot come off, all right? This head is basically glued in here. It's all one piece, so this head can never come off. But once again, when I was actually making this dude, I kept removing the helmet and putting it back on because, of course, I wanted to get it in the exact place, and I kept putting it on this torso. So it did scratch up the face, so I did have to go over and repaint it. So, yeah. Anyway, I sculpted on the ears, which are really cool. The torso was basically just a brown torso. But yeah, the torso was just a brown torso. I just painted the muscles on, which I think the muscles turned out all right. I think I could have done better on it maybe. But yeah, it works all right. Anyway, the arms, once again, were sculpted. They are based on him. And the way I made the fur basically on the front, the sides, and the feet as well, is I basically just took a toothpick, like just a normal toothpick, like, I think I have one like right here, like this, and then just literally just went underneath and just carved it out. And I did that for the front and the bottom and stuff, and I think it turned out really cool. The bottom, I made the toes, which wrap all the way around, which is really cool, and on the inside, which I really love. And the back, I didn't sculpt on the back, so I can make him sit down if I wanted to. I just painted the brown on there instead. But the back, instead of making it just a full-on, just plain brown torso, once again, I just decided to take a toothpick again and then just carve it out to make it look like fur, and I think I did it really good, and I'm very proud of the face as well. So yeah, there he is. And the one other thing that I'm very happy with is that if you take his head and you just slide it on here, it really is just satisfying seeing this fur go over this, because of course, as you guys can see, I sculpted at the top as well of both sides, and it actually works, which I really love. But yeah, I really love how it just goes right over the sculpted fur, just like this, and it doesn't even go up at all. So that's probably my favorite part. And yeah, there is the werewolf from Werewolf by Night. And just for a little cameo, I didn't make him this month, but I did make him last year. I did decide to put Man-Thing next to him, which I think looks really cool. And yeah, there he is. And that is it for Werewolf by Night. Before we take a look at the really amazing customs that I made, here is another kind of simple updated custom that I decided to do. This is my what if version of Strange Supreme, and I'm very happy of how he turned out. And nothing has really changed on the torso or arms or anything, but the one thing that has changed is the painted version of his cloak, which I am very happy with. And you guys can probably tell just by looking at it. Let me first actually get rid of his tentacles because I think they're really cool, but just going to get rid of them right now. But probably the coolest part about him is that if you take a look at the Doctor Strange, my original Doctor Strange, it literally looks exactly like him, just a darker version. And the best part is that yes, I did use the cloak piece that came on the rubber version of Doctor Strange, this rubber cloak, and I did use it on this one. However, this one you cannot remove without this piece up here, because of course what I did is I actually sanded off the top of the collar piece on Doctor Strange right here. I sanded that off and then put a cloth one instead, and then I painted, it was the purple Wonder Twins one, and then I painted the outside black, which I think looks really cool, and did of course the gold trim. So he looks really cool. It's, once again, a very simple custom. Also what I did is I painted the face with the eyes and stuff. Of course, this is much different than the original. And yeah, I did just paint the inside and stuff, the purple on the inside, which I think turned out really cool, and the black on the outside. It is very, very delicate though. It's not really one of those things that you should play with because the paint on the cape, the reason why I didn't make this cape removable and stuff, I just made it on here, is because if you remove it, the paint will always chip off since it's a hard rubber. That's why I wanted to buy a knockoff version of this, because the knockoff versions, actually, fun fact, are just this cape right here, the same mold and stuff, but it's in hard plastic, so it's not removable, and it can't even be bent or anything. So it's basically just a hard plastic. I wanted to go with that, but I couldn't get my hands on a knockoff version of it, so I just decided to use one of the Lego versions. And since I do have my my other characters from the TV show, I am very happy on how the new Guardians of the Multiverse look compared to Doctor Strange, because they look really cool. I'm just going to go with a couple so you guys can see what he looks like. I guess I'll go with all of them, but yeah, here is what he looks like next to them, and I think they look really cool now, and I'm very happy with this team. And yeah, that is it for my Strange Supreme. Which I'm going to put his tentacles back in here, but yeah, very cool character, just a very simple character that I decided to update with the cape. No sculpted work or anything on this dude, it's very simple. And yeah, there he is. So the next character that I have is actually a two-parter character. So first off, I did decide to make Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, and these are honestly some of my coolest customs that I've ever made. So yeah, get ready. So first off, let me actually move Doctor Strange out of here. First off, who we have is, we'll go with the simpler one first. We have Mr. Knight, and this is my custom Mr. Knight, and he is very, very cool, and I'm very proud of how he turned out. So first off, his accessories, he has his batons, but just kind of removing those out of the frame for now. So you can take a better look at the character. His head is the Mr. Freeze head that I used for my original. I decided to keep the original head because I really love how the eyes look, and it just looks a lot like Mr. Knight, so I just decided to go for that. So then I just painted the inside of the eyes white. You can kind of see it a little bit, and yeah, I went for that. Then I painted the crescent and the stitching on the side. I think it looks alright. And the torso and legs, the rest of the figure, Not counting the eyes, of course, are all fully painted by me. The back looks alright, but anyway, I did give him his 3 dots with the silver on the sides. Very simple, and then I did paint his tuxedo, which I'm very happy with, and also his shoes. So, once again, very simple custom. I am very happy on how Mr. Knight turned out, and he's a much better upgrade than I did for my last custom Mr. Knight, because for my last Mr. Knight, I really didn't like how he turned out. Of course, I do have his original torso right here, and yeah, he did not have a gray suit, he had a white suit, and I was thinking about using the white suit from the, I forget, it was from the Joker figure, but it didn't really work out for him because he doesn't have the same suit, it's a different suit. So yeah, there he is, and now we're going to take a look at one of my favorite customs. So without further ado, here is my brand new version of Moon Knight. Here he is, and he is very, very cool. I love how he turned out. He is such a cool custom figure. So I should make a video all on him because he is so cool, but I don't have time to and stuff like that. So I'm putting him in with this video. So hopefully you guys are staying all the way through because this is honestly one of my coolest customs. So, of course, starting off with the sculpting process. So first off, the first thing I sculpted on him was the chest. Here's the chest. This is all the sculpted stuff on the chest. And I basically just took a toothpick all over this dude and sculpted the lines and just did the design. Yeah, I sculpted the design on the torso and everything, and I really love how it turned out. And yeah, so here is all the pieces just non-sculpted and stuff. I think it looks really cool. And one of the things that I actually did do on this guy was I made 2 different heads. And here's the head that I decided to go for. It looks really cool, and I love how he turned out. He's just such a cool figure. Removing his moonarangs right now so we can actually take a look at the figure right now, because those are probably the most hardest things that I made. His head is really cool. Once again, of course his head is removable, and I didn't show you on KANG, but I did of course give him an alternate head, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there he is. He is in his Oscar Isaac head. It's pretty cool. Anyway, removing his head for now. Of course, for this, I just sculpted on the front of the stuff, which I think looks really cool. Basic stuff that I did on him, which I think looks really nice. And the eyes, of course, underneath. Very proud of how those turned out. And I love the detail that I made on his crescent stuff. I did add that point. And this was originally just a white hood piece. I think you guys have all seen this piece before. And I think it turned out really cool. So yeah, there it is. But I did originally make 2 heads for him. Here's my first head that I painted for him, and as you guys can see, this is honestly just laughably horrible compared to this one because of how this really didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to. Maybe the lines I think turned out the best, but anyway, I took a ghost, the ghost helmet or whatever from Spider-Gwen. I took the new white helmet piece and then just sanded off the back. Then sculpted on the front and the little thing as well. The eyes didn't turn out good as well. It just is a really bad original, and I do not like it at all. So yeah, there it is. Anyway, the cape is the Mandalorian cape. So, of course, if I can remove that right now, just so we can kind of get a better look, here is just the Mandalorian cape on the inside. You can see it's a bit tan and dirty on the inside, but on the outside, I just went for the white and kind of gray, kind of give it a dirty effect. And yeah, of course, the front, once again, has all of the gold detail that he has on his outfit. And the back is completely plain. I didn't add any detail on the back, which I think is probably the worst part about this dude. But it really isn't a worst part at all, really, because, of course, the cape is going to be covering it. You're not even going to see any of this detail. And yeah, I think that it worked out because, of course, if I did sculpt on the back, the cape would be upper, and the cape would probably be pushed out more and just be much more awkward. So I am glad that I didn't add that. So yeah, anyway, of course, he does have his shoulders and just all the detail that you would have on him. And of course, also he does have his little thing that does go on the front, which I did, of course, also try some new techniques as well. which is actually following MGF's thing and sanding down the legs so I could paint detail and I could move the legs without scratching the paint, which of course, as you guys see, I can freely move the legs and stuff, but I couldn't even go with, I shouldn't have even went with that because I can't even make him sit down with this piece right here, which is pretty funny, so I think I kind of wasted my time with that. I did do his shoes though, which I think the legs are probably the most sloppy part, but it's alright. Anyway, that is Moon Knight. He is really cool. However, we're not done with him yet because of course we do have his Moonarangs, which are the coolest part about this dude, which I am so happy I was able to make them. And so yeah, the Moonarang pieces, here they are, and I actually have to put these in my hand because they're so tiny, but they are accurate to the show. Here they are, and as you guys can see, these things are incredibly tiny, and I am so happy I was able to make these. So how I made these, you can actually make these in your own collection, all right? That's how cool these things are. So of course, putting one of them in his hand, we'll go with this one first for in his hand right now. He, of course, does have his Moonarangs in the show, which I think look really cool, but how I was able to pull this off is very complicated. You guys, some of you guys have to be very good at sanding, and this is actually one of the Infinity Stone holder pieces. Yes, that's what this originally was, and if you guys do own those pieces, you probably do know that you cannot fit them in his hands. So what I had to do actually is I had to sand off the top of this thing. So I don't actually have one of these in gold, but I do have one in black, so you can kind of see it right here. Here it is. Here's the piece that it used to be, and I'm probably looking at this thing and being like, holy cannoli, how much sanding did you do? And it is very difficult. So of course, if you just try to take one of these things and try to put them in somebody's hand, as you guys can see, they're not going to be able to fit, all right? They're not going to fit. Okay, if you try to, you could try your hardest, but they're not going to fit, okay? Actually, right there, they did fit. But, of course, as you guys can see, they do fit in his hand, kind of. So, what I had to do for this is I had to completely sand off the top of this and make it so the stud was basically non-existent at the top. And then I took basically kind of like a little drill and kind of drilled out the middle and kind of created like a sloppy kind of thing that the crescent thing would have. And then later I just went on the inside and just took this sander and then just sanded and sanded on the inside until I got it to the thing that I wanted it in. And you have to be a very good sander because of course I only had a couple of these lying around in my collection. I do have a lot, but they're in collection, they're in bins and stuff. But I did have access to a lot of these, so I did mess up on none of them actually. I did both of these first try. I did try this out with another piece, I don't know where it went, but I actually did try it out with a tile, which the idea that I actually had this for was Lego Minifig Maker, and I did actually comment on his video because I saw he took one of the clear little tiles. This is actually a watch piece. He took one of the clear tiles and he stuck it in the hand, and that was it. Like, he literally just took it and then just stuck it in the hand and then painted around it. And I thought that that was a completely cool idea, but it really wasn't that effective because it had a clear thing. I'll show you a picture right here. Here's his version of Moon Knight. I think this is honestly pretty cool. I like it a lot. The capes and stuff is cool. The way he used paper for a lot of this is very cool, and he has a lot of cool customs. I do think that for his short figures, he should use mid legs instead of tall legs. If you see his videos, you'll understand what I'm saying. Anyway, pretty cool. It's really awesome, but he had a clear piece in here, and that was very, very, very distracting for me, and I didn't think that would have worked out. So I basically just sanded the inside for both of these, and I was able to have two of these, and they will not break, all right? They won't break, and I'm very happy that I was able to get them at the shape that I had them at. However, I did, of course, make some molded versions of them, sculpted versions, and these did not work out the way I wanted them to. These are very cool, okay? They're honestly cool. I did make two. They're honestly pretty cool. All right, if you see them, they're really cool. However, there's issues with them since they're sculpted on a tiny bar like this. I had issues with both of them. Some of the pieces did, of course, come off, and one of these is looser than the other. And I think this is the one that I went for. Yeah, this is the good one, but this is the one that I had the most issue with. And as you guys can see up here, and if I kind of move my finger down, you can kind of see it is not in there and secure. So I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to go with it. And I'll just go with one. Then I saw Minifig Maker and I'm like, I had the best idea ever. So I went for it. It went and turned out to be one of, if not one of my coolest sculpted figures. So I do keep these ones around. I'm not going to get rid of them and this head because, of course, they are the progress that led to this amazing Moon Knight. And I'm very happy. Probably spent a lot of time on this dude. I'm sorry, but he's just that cool of a figure. This is probably a really long video right now, but we're not done, okay? We are not done. We still have 2 more customs, and these guys are honestly cool. This is, of course, was gonna be celebrating the second half of the release of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So first off, we have Moon Girl from Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and this has to be again, one of my favorite figures in the time that I spent the most time on, because if you want to see this, I actually was going to make a video on Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl as soon as I was done with them. Here's what she looked like, and it basically looks exactly like this, but completely different, okay? They look literally the same, it's just more detail on this one. I added the belt, I added the straps, I added the brown in her hair. That was the last thing I added, the brown in her hair, the dark brown instead of the black, because this is actually the hairpiece that people use on Shuri. So yeah, for her hairpiece, I did get the Shuri hairpiece. I think this works really well. So once again, I just cut off the top, put it on the top right here. I think it turns out really cool. And for her helmet, I took just a bicycle helmet and put the Robin glasses on the front. I think that turned out really cool, and it works really well for her. So that's what I went for her. Of course, you do have her face underneath, which it was very hard. One of the things that was hard about this, making this custom, is the front and the back of the head. Those were the hardest parts because, of course, taking a look at this under here, one of the hard things about this was when I first put on the goggles, I arranged it where there was a big gap underneath, so you could actually see her eyes. Now you can't really. You can kind of see them, but you can't really see them. So what I had to do for the front and the back of this helmet was, if I can just remove it, what I had to do is just sculpt and basically keep this head constantly wet because I was putting this helmet piece on here, and so yeah, there was a big gap underneath here, and what I had to do is constantly keep the head wet so I could see, is it hiding her eyes, is it hiding her eyes and stuff like that. And then also what I had to do is basically keep the head wet again, and then basically just take the back of this and sculpt the back of her hair that she has exposed on the bottom of her helmet to cover up the back of her expression. I keep dropping the figure, but cover the back of her expression, which then I put this over it, and it doesn't, you don't see her expression, and it works out really well. I did paint the side of her stuff, which I did originally paint 2 of these weird blue things on the side, but then I just painted this because I didn't know that there was only one of these on here. So then I painted her logo thing right there. And the head is from the Lightyear sets, and I think it turned out really cool. Of course, you can see her alternate expression if you like, and it looks really cool, and I think it works. Anyway, taking off her head so you can take a look at the rest of the figure. So the torso, start off with the torso. The torso was just a plain old city torso that I sanded off the back. Well, actually, the back is, the front is actually this right here, but I sanded off the front of the torso, painted the red belt on the front, and then on the back, I painted all of her detail that she has, which looks really cool and stuff. So then I painted the blue straps for her backpack, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and her belt right here, and her small shorts that she does have on the show, which of course I did have to paint white. This whole figure was hard because I had to paint white over a lot of this because I was dealing with yellow, and I had to paint white over it so I could get a very good blue on this, which I think it turned out really cool. Then on the back, I painted the yellow shorts again. And for her legs, I painted her knee pads, and then her laces, and then the yellow dots that she has on the front of her roller skates. Her arms have the straps and stuff, which I think looks really cool. And yeah, of course, also her knee pads do wrap all the way around, which is pretty cool, except on the inside, because you can't paint on the inside. And then I did paint her moon logo, which I think turned out really cool. And then finally, for her backpack, I just took a neck bracket, took a plate piece, and originally her backpack was actually just this slope piece, but just sanded off the bottom because I was really lazy, but I had some Sculpty left over, so I decided to sculpt her backpack over a stud, which I don't think that this can come off. No, it cannot. It is completely on here, but I did do it over a plate, and then basically just sculpted her backpack, painted the sides and the front yellow so the black wouldn't be seen on her, so the black, basically the yellow would transition well to the torso, and then the blue would basically just be the backpack, the back of the neck brackets. So yeah, it's a very difficult, it was a very fun figure to make, and she looks really colorful and exactly like the TV show, and I'm very happy that I was able to make her. So yeah, and I didn't give her a boxing glove because I don't have any red boxing gloves in my collection. So there is Moon Girl, and of course, since I made Moon Girl, I did make the last custom in this video, which is of course going to be the one and only Devil Dinosaur, which I did make Devil Dinosaur, and he is really cool. We're not going to break him down as much as I did in the canceled video that I was going to make on him. But Devil Dinosaur is very cool. You can see a lot of customs right here and stuff, but Devil Dinosaur is probably another very cool figure that I made, and he looks insane, and I am very happy on how he turned out. And of course, the way I built him was basically going straight off this dinosaur from the set that everybody hated, which is pretty sad, but I honestly think it was a pretty cool set, the way that they made the brick build dinosaur. Because of course what I was going to originally do is just buy a dinosaur, sculpt some ears, and then basically just paint everything else on. But I thought it would be more interesting if I took a brick built dinosaur and basically just built all over. And since I'm a Build-A-Better person, I did fix some of LEGO's problems that they had in the set, which of course fixing the ball joints on the legs, making it a fluent connection. Also making the legs more accurate to the him in the show, which I think looks really cool. And yeah, these are on little ball joints at the bottom. And of course, building everything on him was really cool, and also the black spikes on the back as well turned out really cool. And also his face turned out really awesome as well. I painted the eyes on here, looks really cool. But one of the funny things that I did was I took the head, kind of basically built it right off the dinosaur from the set. One of the issues was I didn't use this piece. I used another piece, which there was a huge gap where you could literally see the gray. You guys can see it right here, but you could literally see the brick that I used underneath to connect the sides of the jaw together. And it looked horrible. So I took one of the bigger pieces that go all the way up. Basically, you guys can probably see it's this piece right here. And, or if I actually remove this front piece, you can actually see it. So I basically took this part right here and then just put this piece on it and fixed it and made his big chin that he has in the show. And his eyes turned out really cool. His teeth also, and his tongue and his jaw can open and close. It's not as good as it is in the set, but I didn't have all the pieces that LEGO had in the set, which basically the corner pieces and stuff. So I used what I had in my collection, which I think turned out really cool. And the top of his head, I used his weird eyebrows was probably the hardest part, but I used a clip connection and then put the red on the side to basically form the eye, kind of. And I think that looks really cool. If you get rid of it, if you get rid of this tooth piece right here, it doesn't look good at all. It just kind of gets rid of the kind of, it looks really brick built to me, and I don't like how it looks. It looks much more cooler with the tooth piece on. So I just went with the red tooth connection and just put it on there and kind of formed it to make the eye, which I think looks really cool. For his horns, it's kind of a lazy build technique, but I used one of the basically studs with bar on it and basically just put some clips with his horns at the top, and they're the only thing that's kind of loose, so you can do this and this with it, but of course it does look good like this, which that is it for Devil Dinosaur. Then of course I did make his bendable arms at the bottom, which I think do look better than the set. So that is it for Devil Dinosaur. I think there is maybe a lot more detail that I could go down with this dude, but this video is long enough already. And yeah, it is a very cool custom, and I am happy. Of course, he was finished in February. I did, of course, just update a lot of the back, mostly the back of the spikes and some of the plates on the side. I did update, but that is it for this video. And that is it for all of my customs that I made in March and at the very end of February. It's a lot of customs. This is why I really haven't been making enough. I haven't been basically making the rest of the videos and uploading them onto YouTube because, of course, I've been making these characters and I've been posting them on Instagram. Instagram has already seen all these figures multiple times. So yeah, and I really have been like, a lot of these figures I haven't been focused on anymore because like KANG, I made a video on him, but that didn't turn out to be because I made a better version and then I didn't make a video on him. And yeah, I really just am very happy with how these customs turned out. They're really cool. Some of my favorites are probably Moon Girl and Moon Knight because on how much I spent on them. And probably Moon Girl was a big turnaround because she was just a very simple custom. And then I turned her into being one of the most complex customs, which is really cool. Hopefully you guys love this video as much as I loved making it. I think that this is a really cool, a lot of cool customs that I made, and I'm very happy on how they turned out. So that is it for my LaZY video. I don't know what I'm going to call this, but that is it for my LaZY customs. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Peace out, and bye.